Okay, welcome back. This is our entrance to the Diego Romero versus Endivard exhibit. And as I talked about the materials that we sent to you all, Diego is from Cochiti Pueblo, who was influenced by several artists throughout his career. But of particular importance, I want to show you all this Last Boy on Earth, which was inspired by our gone dancer at the front of the entrance. And Diego's work is really a take on environmentalism. And he talks about how this image influenced him thinking about climate change, and that this boy is the lone survivor through this devastation of flooding and disaster. And so he titles this one The Last Boy on Earth, who's floating down a raft up on Museum Hill, and you can see the gone dancer in the background. And so that's really the spirit of what Diego tries to capture, is a sense of modern imagery and commentary, really influenced by his traditional styles of Pueblo pots and design. This is one of my favorite pieces here because it's made of gold, and it's really laced with a series of designs that we can see through spirals and jagged geometrical figures. Diego did this piece in 1994. And it's really colorful. I mean, the lights don't do justice to it, but it's a really colorful, sparkling piece. And this is a nice collection of pots. Again, really thinking about his commentary of environmentalism and his take on pollution and contamination of the world. And it is through the stories of designs and art that he really tries to convey this to the larger public of what that means to think about the earth and the destruction of that. These pieces are really interesting because they embody two examples of Chaco Canyon jars that we have here in the collection. So these larger vessel jars were found during one of the excavations of Chaco Canyon, and it was founded later that the jars were used in ceremonial and rituals to drink chocolate. And so the cylindrical jars were inspired to think about art and storytelling, and Diego really embodies that through creation stories. And so he has images of coyote and the stars, and how we also come from a tradition of storytelling and how we came to be into this world. And you really have to walk all around the pieces to really appreciate all the intricate designs that Diego conveys here. And so as you can see, it's not, quote, traditional pottery, but that Diego really looks at traditions from a very modern perspective. This one is called Diego and Cricket. And so Diego's youngest daughter, Cricket, has been following her father's example and participating in traditional dances at Cochiti. And so this is an image of father-daughter. Again, a really nice, intricate self-portrait within this ceramic bowl. And Diego's work has also been influenced by Greek and Roman cultures. And you can see this conveyed here with the symmetry and the design of muscles and bodies and really human figures. Here's another jar of Diego's that's gold laced. And it's really at the core of Pueblo culture and ancestral Pueblo designs that has influenced this particular jar, but created with the unique twist of gold. Diego also has a series of popular culture thinking about this notion of a Pueblo maiden, and this one on the right here is called Pueb Fiction, which a lot of people chuckle because this is a spin-off of Pulp Fiction. And if any of you have ever seen that movie, you'll recognize this image, but he really, in a sense, Puebloizes, if that's a word, the woman here with the tablita headdress and traditional manta, and it's really just thinking about this complexity of modern worlds. There's the corn dance on the right, and a bowl in the middle with the hunter and mission church here. I'm going to start off to the right because these are really good collections of a lot of Diego's pieces that include bowls. Diego also has a series of Pueblo Revolt imagery and Pope, which is up on the top here. This does a good image to that here. So as we know, Pope was the leader of the Pueblo Revolt of 1680. And this is a really dark time in New Mexico history where men, women, children, and families were really devastated because of Spanish colonization into the Southwest. And Diego really doesn't skimp on any of this. Because it was a dark time, and these are also part of our stories and traditions that continue to be passed on from generation to generation. So as we know, there were religious leaders and spiritual leaders that were hanged because of their beliefs and traditions, and a lot of battle scenes here. And again, based on the other images that we saw in the previous pots, we know Diego is very, very skilled in human physical anatomy, because you can see the strength and the muscles in these images, but also very graphic, very gory here too. And so these are all a series of his take on the Pueblo Revolt of 1680 and that particular time in history. Diego also has a series of drawings, and this is a take on his influence of comic books and iconography. So we have some pieces that feature Diego's family. So this one is by Diego's wife, Cara Romero, who's a photographer. And this photograph was taken up north in Espanola at a bar called Saints and Sinners. And this one is called Coyote Tales. And you can see that the individual in the middle has a coyote tail hanging down. And this is really a comment and kind of a nod to the coyote trickster stories that Diego conveys in his pottery, but also that many traditions and many pueblos really have these stories of coyote and tricksters. Diego's brother is